Welcome to the SAP TechEd session about the custom code adaptation for SAP S/4HANA. My name is Olga Dolinska and I'm a part of ABAP platform product management team, and I'm your speaker for today. Let's take a short look at the agenda. I will start with a short motivation and explain you what does the challenge for your custom code exist if you convert your traditional SAP Business Suite system to the SAP S/4HANA. After that, we will take a look at the custom code adaptation for SAP S/4HANA in detail, and in the end, there is a summary and outlook. Let's start with the challenge for your custom code. I think it's nothing new for you that SAP S/4HANA is a new product family of SAP, its digital core, which is fully optimized for SAP HANA database, which comes along with the new architecture and data models. And we have simplified a lot of SAP standard code inside of it. We provide renewed application, and we provide also SAP Fiori user experience. The good thing for you is you can convert your existing ERP system to the SAP S/4HANA, and you can take over also your custom code to it. What challenge does exist for a custom code after SAP S/4HANA system conversion? Let's take a look at the left-hand side of this slide. You see here the traditional SAP Business Suite system and SAP code is inside of it. Since years, you as a customer or partner have developed your custom code based on the SAP standard code directly in the system. You enhanced and modified SAP standard code, and you were able to use any of SAP standard objects without any restriction. It was a very flexible approach, but this led you to the fact that your custom code is very tightly coupled with SAP standard code. It has never been a problem across the different SAP Business Suite upgrades because SAP always guarantees the compatibility of your custom code, but the situation changes completely if you step into the new S/4HANA world, because we have simplified a lot of SAP standard logics there. Of course, we always tried to keep the SAP compatibility as far as possible. For example, we provide the CDA's compatibility views for the dedicated data model changes, and we also tried to keep the external interfaces stable. But nevertheless, if you take over your custom code to the S/4HANA system, you most probably encounter the following situation. There will be such green objects in your custom code as depicted on this picture on the right-hand side, which will run as expected as before, but there will be also these red or custom code objects. That means this object would either crash or deliver not expected results, print dumps, and so on. And this is clear, such custom code objects need to be adapted. Luckily, we haven't only simplified a lot in SAP S/4HANA, but we also documented each and every change in so-called simplification database, which is the table in S/4HANA containing all the simplification to SAP standard objects as so-called simplification items. Each simplification item refers to the corresponding change in the SAP standard code and also describes the impact and provides the guidance via the corresponding SAP node how your custom code can be adapted to this particular change. And we as SAP provide also the tools which are based on the simplification database, which help to analyze your custom code and encounter the custom code parts which need to be adapted to the SAP S/4HANA. So custom code adaptation for SAP S/4HANA. What you see in this picture is the S/4HANA system conversion process, and it contains of different steps and familiar tools to you, like for example, maintenance planner or software update manager, which you know from the previous SAP Business Suite upgrades, but we will focus on the custom code related process, and the custom code adaptation process starts with the so-called custom code scoping. Meaning, first you need to decide which amount of custom code will go to the SAP S/4HANA. Second step, you will need to execute custom code analysis for these particular parts of your custom code. And if you have the new S/4HANA software in place, it's time to do the functional adaptation of custom code. And later on, you can do also some kind of custom code optimizations activities. This process is also well described in the SAP community in the corresponding blog. The technical infrastructure for custom code analysis is represented by the remote ABAP test cockpit. We started to provide ABAP test cockpit as remote solution starting with SAP NetWeaver release 751. You can set up one SAP custom ABAP test cockpit system in your landscape, and based on the SAP basis only release, and you connect this central ATC system via RFC to the systems in your landscape, and in this manner you can check your development system in the landscape centrally. So you maintain your code inspector check variant centrally on the ATC check system, and you schedule your ATC run centrally, and you get also the central results. This infrastructure is also fully integrated into your development environment, meaning if you as developer is an older development system, and this system is connected via RFC to the central ATC infrastructure, you can check your developments with the newest ABAP test cockpit checks from the central system. We support the most of custom code, including modification, enhancements, and we also now offer support for SAP queries. And this infrastructure is essential also for custom code migration to SAP S/4HANA. You just need to download the simplification database to the central ATC check system, and you need to execute S/4HANA readiness remote check variant, which contains both SAP S/4HANA and SAP HANA checks. S/4HANA checks cover so-called simplification use cases, which provide the checks for the custom code, which access the functionality which is not available anymore in S/4HANA, or data model changes or data type changes. And SAP HANA use cases cover the HANA database use cases. Like, for example, if your custom code is using the native SQL, or for example, if you use the database tables, database operations on pull and cluster tables, which were removed in S/4HANA, or if your custom code is using select or open cursor without order by. So the custom code adaptation process begins with so-called custom code scoping, and you need to define the amount of a custom code which will go to SAP S/4HANA. And we found out, and our statistics show us that 30 to 60% of the custom code get not executed in productive environments. And also another significant part of it can be replaced through the SAP standard code upon the system conversion. That's why I recommend to get rid of the unused code, and therefore prior to the system conversion project, we recommend at least 12 to 15 months before your system conversion, turn on the usage analysis for your custom code in your productive environment, and to use for this purpose ABAP call monitor and aggregation with the SUCG transaction. ABAP Call Monitor is successor of Usage Procedure Logging and Solution Manager, and it delivers not only execution statistics for custom code, but also the information about the calling business process, like, for example, transaction or RFC or whatever. And in order to keep the usage data for a longer period of time on your ERP productive system, you need to aggregate them using the SUCG transaction. After that, we recommend to use for analysis custom code migration app, and we recommend to upload the collected usage data to this app and define initially custom code migration scope. And we have also the capability to create the deletion transport request directly in the app and remove unused code during the system conversion from the system. Please note, if you don't remove the unused code, you will still need to adapt it to SAP S/4HANA later on, because being left on the system and not adapted, it can possess the risk of data inconsistencies or brain dumps or whatever. The next step is custom code analysis, and we recommend to use the custom code migration app, which is fully based on remote ABAP test cockpit infrastructure and on the information which is stored in simplification database. The custom code migration app delivers the same information, the same ATC findings as the GUI transaction ATC, but it comes along with more representative results like different charts and diagrams, and has also different aggregation and filter capabilities. For example, you can focus only on the custom code which will go on the SAP S/4HANA, or you can just display the findings for which the automated quick fixes for the automated custom code adaptation are not available, and so on. And now it's the time for the first demo.
In this demo, I will show you how to use the custom code migration app to scope and analyze your custom code for the SAP S/4HANA readiness. I have configured the app on my SAP Fiori launchpad, and I will just click on it. And what you see on the screen are different types of the custom code migration projects. And if you press the Create button, you can choose which type of the custom code migration project you would like to maintain. It could be either S/4HANA migration project, or if you want to bring your custom code to the cloud, you would need to create SAP Cloud Platform migration project, or you can just create custom code analysis project. If I choose here SAP S/4HANA migration project, I would need to enter the project description, the target release, and also the transition scenario, where I can choose between system conversion and new implementation. This is the new feature in the custom code migration app, and we support also now the SAP S/4HANA Greenfield approach with the custom code migration. Here you can choose if you want to keep the classic material number length of 18 characters, or you can also choose to use the material number length of 40 characters, the new material number of SAP S/4HANA. If you leave it as 18 characters, then you would get less ADC findings in your custom code, which would relate only to the pieces in the custom code which come into conflicts with the SAP standard code of which uses the material number length of 40 characters, for example, at move or at concatenation and so on. Here you would need to choose the location of custom code either in remote system or in the same system, and we would like to analyze the remote ERP system, and therefore we will choose the in remote system here. Here you need to provide the connection to the remote system based on the RFC destination which you have defined beforehand. And I will just choose the ERP system here. And here you can upload the usage data to the custom code migration project, which you have collected beforehand, either using the ABAP call monitor and SUCG transaction, which is actually the favorable solution, or if you collected the usage data with UPL, usage procedure login, and SAP Solution Manager, then you can add also the collected usage, this collected usage data here. And of course, you would need to provide the RFC connection to the SAP Solution Manager system. But I will choose the usage data collected with ABAP call monitor and with aggregated with SUCG transaction. Just choose this snapshot here. And if I press the Save button, then the initial scoping will begin based on the usage data uploaded so far, and ABAP Test Cockpit will start to analyze the custom code in the system for S/4HANA readiness. It will take some time, and therefore I will just discard this project and will show you the custom code migration project for S/4HANA, which I have created beforehand. And for this project, the scoping was already done. And based on the uploaded usage data, we have 480 custom code objects of 630. And the analysis was also finished, and we have the number of findings, which is 747. And we will start with the scoping. We will continue with the scoping for this custom code migration project. Here you see this graph represents the detailed scope information. There are the custom code objects which are in scope initially by request entry point of ABAP call monitor. There are also executed custom code objects which are in scope by object, but there are also some custom code objects which are in scope by reference, meaning they are referenced statically by the executed custom code object collected in ABAP call monitor and in SUCG. Here we can press the Change Scope button, and here you can decide how to adjust your scope manually. Here you can, for example, add the package to the scope and press just Add Package to the Scope button, or you can also remove the package from the scope. or you can just navigate to the details of the package. And here you can just add, select single objects and add them to the scope as well, or remove from the scope. You can adjust the scope manually if, for example, you have the new developments in the system for which the usage data simply does not exist. And therefore, if you want to take such new developments over to the SAP S/4HANA, you would need to add these developments to the scope manually. When defining the custom code scope, you can also display the complexity of your custom code migration project in a graphic. It can be done on base of the packages or entry points, and such complexity analysis summarizes the number of relevant changes in the custom code in accordance with the complexity of the custom code, meaning how difficult is the custom code to understand and to change. Therefore, you can estimate the complexity and effort for your custom code migration activities in advance. And we have found out that the most complex packages very often also experience the most frequent changes, and in this way increase the maintenance costs for your custom code. Therefore, you can use this code complexity as a technical metric to prioritize which of your custom developments need a redesign. Like, for example, if we pick up some complex packages which are presented on the upper right part of the diagram, we will see here, for example, the complexity index is pretty high and the number of changes is also high. And therefore, in the systems with a larger custom code footprint, we generally suggest starting with a review of the top 25 to 50 most complex and most frequently changed development packages and redesign them. And therefore, I've just marked this package and will remove it from the scope because it needs a redesign. After we are ready with the scoping, you can go back and just press the button Create Deletion Transport. And then the corresponding transport request gets created on the ERP system. And you can add the code, the unused custom code, which is out of scope for the S/4HANA. You can add it to the software update manager during the system conversion as a custom transport, and it will be then deleted from the system. Of course, you can anytime store the backup of this custom code, which is in the deletion transport request for the future. And for this purpose, we recommend to use either downsized productive ERP system or downsized development system. After you are ready with the scoping, it's time to do the analysis of the custom code. And I will go to the analysis tab, and here you see the ATC findings overview. The findings are initially grouped by the different check titles, and if you scroll down, you will see the findings burn down chart, which demonstrates how the findings are distributed along with their priorities. How many of priority 1, priority 2, and priority 3 findings do you have in your custom code, and so on. But I will press now the Analyze Findings button, and now you see the view on ATC findings along with different filters. And using these filters, you can group the findings and focus your analysis activities or on certain findings. Like, for example, I can group the findings by the scope information because I would like to focus my activities on the findings which are in scope for the SAP S/4HANA. And I will get now less findings in the list. I can also choose the findings for which no quick fixes are available for the automated custom code adaptation. So I would need to fix these findings manually. And as you can see from the long findings list, I have only 27 findings, which I would need to fix manually. Also, there is a possibility to group the findings by the change category. For example, technical findings which can be fixed by any ABAP developers, like for example, material number finding and others, and also functional findings which should be fixed by the application developer, like for example the changes to the data models and so on. Okay, now I will just enlarge this list. And here you see the ABAP test cockpit findings results, which I would need to fix manually. And here I have the possibility to navigate to the details of the findings. And of course, if you take a look at the table, you would see here the classic ATC results with priority, check title, check message, object type, name, package, and you see also which the corresponding simplification item plays a role here, quick fix availability, and so on. You have here the possibility to navigate to the details of the findings, as I already said. And here you see the check title, check message, and in the details of the findings, you see that the problem is that functionality is not available in S/4HANA, but the functional equivalent is available. So, and we see that these findings relate to the object type transaction, and the referenced object is my GRP 03 transaction call, and I can also display the source code directly in the browser window here and navigate to the corresponding source code line in the custom code object and see that here the call transaction MyGRP 03 takes place here, which is not available in SAP S/4HANA and must be replaced. And therefore, as next step would be to navigate to the corresponding SAP node number and see how this call can be fixed in the custom code. Okay. So you see here, you have the possibility to navigate to the details of the findings. You get the detailed findings list based on ATC results. You have different filters. And also here you have the possibility to download the findings list in the format which is suitable for upload to the SAP readiness check. Now I'll just go back and we'll show you briefly how the Greenfield custom code migration project looks like. This is actually the same project as the custom code migration project to the SAP S/4HANA during conversion. And the only difference is here that the scoping is initially empty. So all the custom code is not in scope in the custom code migration project for the SAP S/4HANA new scenario, new implementation, and therefore you need to change the scope and adjust the scope manually, take over the custom code objects which will go to the new implementation of the SAP S/4HANA.
So here you have the slide which represents the custom code analysis options. You can, of course, execute a custom code analysis with remote ATC and GUI transaction based on the SAP Basis Release 752. You will get the S/4HANA related findings and you get the whole simplification information in your ATC results, but you have some deficiencies. You will not be able to filter your results by scope and by the quick fix availability, and you will be not able to upload the usage data to the GUI transaction ATC, or you will not be able to create the deletion transport request to get rid of the unused code in the system. Therefore, our recommendation is to use the custom code migration app. You can use it either in S/4HANA 1809 system, or Greta, or you can use it in the SAP Cloud Platform ABAP environment. And there you will need to connect to your on-premise landscape using the RFC and SAP Cloud Connector. After you have the new S/4HANA software in place, it's time to do the functional adaptation, and the tool of choice is ABAP development tools in Eclipse, and we offer also quick fixes for the automated adaptation activities. ABAP Test Cockpit is fully integrated into ABAP development tools in Eclipse. You can just select your custom code objects and use the context menu run as ABAP Test Cockpit to execute ABAP Test Cockpit over them. And you will get the ATC results in the ATC problems view, and they will also contain the simplification items information and so on. And we also offer the quick fixes which help you to minimize the adaptation effort for custom code, which are based on the Eclipse quick fix technology accessible via Ctrl+1 shortcut directly in the source code editor. And we provide quick fixes for the most prominent simplification use cases, like, for example, if order by clause is missing in your selects, or for material number and amount field length extensions, or, for example, for data model changes in code, VBAP, BCG, and so on. And in order to speed up your custom code adaptation activities, we offer also mass-enabled quick fixes, which allow you to execute the custom code adaptation at one shot. And now it's time for the demo.
In this demo, I will show you how to do the functional adaptation for your custom code for SAP S/4HANA using ABAP development tools in Eclipse, which is the recommended development environment for all custom code adaptation activities since it supports the automated adaptation via the quick fixes. And I'm here on my new S/4HANA system, which I have created as a result of ERP conversion. And here is my custom code package inside of the ABAP project, and I will just execute the ABAP Test Cockpit checks for this custom code project using the S/4HANA readiness check variant for 1909 release, since this system is on the 1909 release. And ABAP Test Cockpit will start its execution and will check my custom code objects in this package for S/4HANA readiness. As a result, I will get a list with corresponding findings. And for each and every ABAP Test Cockpit findings, you can just click on it and see the details of analysis. For example, what is the problem here in this corresponding custom code object, and which SAP standard object is used in the custom code, and which simplification node can be used to get the guidance how to fix the particular finding. And if you see here this yellow bulb for each finding, which signalizes that for these findings there are automated quick fixes available. And therefore, if you just double-click the finding, you will navigate to the source code, and here directly in the source code you can use Ctrl+1 shortcut in order to fix this finding automatically using the quick fix. And you see here in this pop-up the proposal, the quick fix is to replace this select from the table conf by API call. You can do it for each and every finding of the list, but it will cost time, and therefore we also provide the so-called mass-enabled quick fixes, which will allow to fix the whole findings list. And therefore I'll just select this findings list, select all, and then I will use the context menu, recommended quick fixes. And what you see here, for 257 of the 279 selected findings, there are recommended quick fixes which you can use. So you can fix the majority of the custom code objects issues using the automated quick fixes. And here in the list you see the corresponding finding and which custom code objects are affected. You can also change this selection and group the list by the corresponding custom code objects, and therefore you will see the other way which findings appear in which custom code objects. And you can also select here the post-processing activities. For example, I can select here, after the applying the quick fixes, I would like to activate all the changed objects and let the ATC recheck them. So go to the next button, and here you can provide the transport request for the changes. And on the next screen, you will see how the findings look like in the original source of your custom code object, and how the source code of your custom code objects will look like after applying the quick fix. And here you see, for example, for this particular custom code object, this is here the select from conf, which will be replaced by API call. And you see here also the corresponding quick fix command. This is the new feature. We also offer the quick fix commands now, which provide the old code of your custom code objects and provide also the information about what the quick fix has done on your custom code object, and the corresponding transport request and the corresponding transport request name. So you can keep also the old source code here. Here, let's take a look at another one here. This is the select from the BCG, and the proposal of the quick fix is also to replace it using the corresponding API call. And here, for example, in this program, you have a number of quick fixes which have to deal with the SD simplifications, because the table VBAC have been eliminated in S4HANA, and you need to replace the accesses to the corresponding fields of VBAC through the other accesses to other tables here. LIKP, BRK, and so on. After I, as developer, reviewed all the quick fixes and I'm agreed to apply them, I just can press the Finish button, and all the quick fixes get applied to my custom code objects at one shot. And as I specified in the post-processing steps, the objects get activated, and ABAP Test Cockpit starts execution of S4HANA readiness checks again on the quick fixed source code. And you see here, out of a long list of the findings, I get only 40 errors, 2 warnings and 5 infos, which I, as developer, would need to fix manually. And here, for example, for some findings like this one, this is the false positive finding, you have the possibility to add the pseudo comments. How to do it? You use again the Ctrl+1 shortcut, and here you get the proposal of the quick fix to append the pseudo comment and comment this finding out, which I also will do. I will save this custom code object and activate, and I can just recheck this ATC result list again with S4HANA readiness check variant.
After functional adaptation, you can do some kind of custom code optimization activities. Please consider with S4HANA, you don't only get the renewed application stack, you get also the renewed technology stack. And therefore, if you go to the SAP HANA database, we recommend to apply some code pushdown techniques or do performance tuning using SQL Monitor. Or we also recommend to apply some clean code principles and decouple your custom code from the SAP standard. And we also recommend to use the modern ABAP language and released APIs if you, for the future, will intend to move your custom code, for example, to the SAP Cloud Platform ABAP environment, because they are stable contracts and they will not change. We also encourage you to start to use the ABAP RESTful application programming model for your Fiori-based ABAP applications. What you can do today in your SAP Business Suite landscape, if you want to get your custom code prepared for the SAP S4HANA, you should try to turn on the usage statistic using ABAP Call Monitor and SUCG to collect the usage data for your custom code. And if you're already on SAP HANA database, then we recommend to switch on the SQL Monitor. We also recommend to create your new code S4HANA ready, meaning you can set up remote ABAP Test Cockpit in your landscape, and you can execute S4HANA readiness checks on a regular basis in order to prepare your custom code for S4HANA and avoid future efforts. And also we recommend to make your developers S4HANA ready and get familiar with S4HANA must-have technologies. You could also start to adapt your code in your development system. For example, if you are on the SAP HANA database, you can fix SAP HANA related findings, and you can optimize also performance critical SQLs found in SQL Monitor. And you can also start to evaluate your custom code adaptation reports by setting up the remote ABAP test cockpit and run S4HANA readiness checks for your custom code. Key takeaways for you: the custom code adaptation is necessary for SAP S4HANA, and we recommend to turn on the usage analysis using ABAP Call Monitor and SUCG at least 12 to 15 months prior to your system conversion project. The ABAP test cockpit in its remote infrastructure is the infrastructure of choice, is our technical infrastructure for all custom code checks on your ABAP code. And we recommend to execute custom code analysis for S4HANA using the custom code migration app. And the ABAP development tools in Eclipse with mass-enabled fixes is the tool of choice for the automated custom code adaptation. Also, later on, we recommend to optimize your custom code using different code pushdown techniques, performance tuning, and start to develop using ABAP RESTful application programming model. What's new? The Fiori app custom code migration is available in SAP Cloud Platform ABAP environment. It offers support for greenfield projects and analysis of source code complexity. And you can also download the ATC results from the custom code migration app and upload them into SAP readiness checks. And quick fixes in ABAP development tools in Eclipse now are able to provide comments for the old code, and we also offer the new quick fixes for SD billing documents, and we approve the quick fixes for VB type. And the most of the features you have already seen in the demo. Further information is available in SAP community for ABAP testing and analysis. Therefore, I encourage you to visit it and to get familiar with the blogs posted there. And more information is also available in related SAP TechEd session for the system conversion, for ABAP strategy, SAP Cloud Platform ABAP environment, and so on. So we also propose to you to continue your learning experience in SAP TechEd in 2020. And you can deep your learning experience using the information on SAP Learning Hub. And you can also subscribe to it to get all the news here. Therefore, I thank you very much for attending this session. And if you have any questions at a later point of time, you can anytime contact me via email. Thank you very much for your attention.